Story first. 2 months since election results in Tamil Nadu, the state's political battles have moved from the campaign trail to courtrooms, police stations, and even on social media. In the last week alone, a string of political developments has put several senior DMK leaders under the spotlight. The TVK government in Tamil Nadu has sought sanction to prosecute former ministers Senthil Balaji and Anita Radhakrishnan in 2 separate cases, while Balaji has also found himself at the center of an alleged 35 crore rupee TVK MLA poaching case, with the police issuing summons and later a lookout notice after he failed to appear. Radhakrishnan, meanwhile, has found himself on the wrong side of the law after police came for his arrest over allegations of making a defamatory speech against Chief Minister Joseph Vijay. Not long before, the state's Directorate of Vigilance and Anti-Corruption carried out searches at 14 properties linked to former Tamil Nadu Minister E.V. Velu over allegations of disproportionate assets. While all this law enforcement action carries on one side of the equation, there's a whole lot of churn happening on the other end of the spectrum. The ruling TVK has been hard at work inducting as many as 4 former AIA-DMK ministers and 5 MLAs as it attempts to shore up its numbers in the Tamil Nadu Assembly, where it only holds a slender majority with the help of allies. This has caused the principal opposition, the DMK, to accuse the TVK of not only engineering defections but carrying out law enforcement action against former Tamil Nadu ministers as a distraction while it goes about allegedly engaging in horse trading. In fact, we spoke to DMK spokesperson A. Saravanan earlier in the day about this. Let's listen in to what he had to say.
Vijay is afraid. He does not want to continue the government with the support of these allies, which is legal, perfectly legal, and perfectly the people of Tamil Nadu have accepted that. But he has this insecurity. He does not want to continue this government on the strength of these allies. So he is indulging in horse trading, a blatant horse trading. This government was formed on the basis of horse trading, divert the attention of the public. What they are doing is they are trying to foist cases against the erstwhile DMK ministers and keep saying, oh, this is a government, the erstwhile government was corrupt. These are the corrupt ministers, that is why we are taking action. And the biggest joke is the case of against Mr. Senthil Balaji that he wanted to purchase MLAs. If you ask them what is the proof, they say this person has called this person. That is the proof. This is the kind of FIRs that are being filed against the DMK ministers. We are willing to take all that. We will face all of that. We will not be cowed down by these kind of allegations or by these kind of threats from the TVK government.
So let's take a look at what is happening here. In a sense, the DMK is accusing the TVK of poaching MLAs from across the political spectrum, especially the AIA-DMK, and foisting cases against former ministers, those from the DMK, as a means of distraction. This while the TVK itself is saying that it's the DMK that's engaging in horse trading, alleging that party MLA and former minister Senthil Balaji is paying 35 crore rupees allegedly per TVK MLA to get them to switch sides. Where does this lead us? Is Tamil Nadu bound to be embroiled in this political game for the foreseeable future? And what does this do to the promise of clean, corruption-free governance that the TVK promised not very long ago? To discuss some of these pointers, I'm now joined by a panel of experts. With us today is Narayan Tirupati of the BJP, as well as Advocate Richardson Wilson also joins us from Chennai. Fair disclosure, Richardson does have links with the DMK. He fights cases for the party and its leaders. We're also told we will be joined by political analyst Rajat Sethi shortly on the show today. So let me start with you, Richardson. It's an interesting time to be doing this discussion because what you are essentially seeing is less than 2 months after the TVK assumes power, it is embarking on a witch hunt of sorts. At least that's what it is apparent, or what it seems like is happening. What do you make of this from a legal standpoint? Is the TVK all set to go all guns blazing against the former ministers of the DMK government? And does this mean that the DMK's legal wing, in a sense, will be hard at work for the next few months or so?
Jude, I think straight away I would say that it reminds me of what the playbook of Selvi J. Jayalalitha. Every time she became chief minister, the first thing she did was foist cases on all the ministers in the previous cabinet. So I feel like our Honorable Chief Minister, Mr. Vijay, is adopting the playbook of Selvi Jayalalitha, and it seems to be just foist. Can you hear me? Am I audible?
Go on, Richardson.
Yeah. So it just seems to be a case of foist whatever case you can, because if you see the case against Mr. E.V. Velu, the former minister, the allegation is that somewhere in Karur, a road contractor was paid in advance before the road work was completed, and the road work was completed after 10 days. And in such a case, they're trying to implicate the road minister, the highways minister, who has nothing to do with the awarding of tender, who has no role to play in the payment of the contractor. Even the FIR given in 2022 doesn't say what the role of the minister is. And if you look at, you mentioned the case against Mr. Sendil Balaji. If you look at the FIR, Jude, it is inherently improbable. The FIR says the complainant is one TVK MLA. He says one person called him, and that person said, look, I'm talking on behalf of XYZ. They're ready to offer you 35 crores if you vote against the TVK in a motion that the DMK will bring against the speaker. And only on the basis of this, he said, she said, an FIR is registered. Now, Jude, if you look at the complaint itself, the allegation is that this alleged offer took place on 26th of June. Now, the assembly session ended on the 23rd of June. It is inherently improbable. So even if a motion was to be brought, it would have been brought within those days that the assembly was sitting, from the 17th of May to the 23rd of 17th of June to the 23rd of June. So this just seems to be a case of find some case or the other in which you can implicate former DMK ministers and see what we can do with it.
And what you do say has a point, Richardson, because the timelines simply don't match up, and that itself may well be a dead giveaway in terms of probable foisting of cases in order to, I don't know, make a statement, perhaps, make it a diversionary tactic of sorts. At least that's what the DMK is saying on record when we spoke to the party spokesperson just a little while ago. Let me bring in Mr. Narayan Tirupati on the debate. Mr. Narayan, the fact is, when the TVK was voted to power, the focus was on good governance, corruption-free governance, a turnaround of the state's fortunes in 2 months' time. At least that's what the chief minister promised. Do you think all of this that's going on right now could well be seen as, a clear and present distraction from what ought to have been the priorities of the TVK government back in May? What do you make of it, Mr. Narayan Tirupati?
To eradicate corruption, this action is a must. But governance doesn't stop there itself. The governance has to continue, but that part the TVK has not done. But for that, you cannot say that this action is very bad. The Sendil Balaji's issue, both Mr. Saravanan and the other panelists were saying, but why he is running? If there is no proof against him, let him talk to the police. They have issued a summons. Why he is running? He is absconding. An ex-minister, a current MLA, and he is absconding means what? Same way Mr. Velu. He was summoned, but he went to Singapore. There are news that he is not in the hospital, he is roaming around. That is what people say. And what about this Anita Radhakrishnan abusing the Prime Minister, Chief Minister in singular? How do you expect the government to keep quiet? So I don't think what this government did to the DMK ex-ministers. In fact, they need more. They are capable of doing all these scams, and they need, in fact, more. In fact, my charge is that in spite of the vigilance and anti-corruption unit went to Eva Velu. How did he escape to Singapore? How come they left him? This is my charge. So that part, I say, what TVK has done is right. But the other things, definitely the ministers, a lot of ministers are immature. They don't have any action plan to develop the economy, develop the infrastructure of the state. Law and order is very bad. Crime rate is very bad. Yes, all these things. A lot of ministers have got into a lot of controversies, like the higher education minister, Mr. Viswanathan, got himself into a controversy by touching young girls, and their labor minister got in a video controversy of drugs. One more minister, same way. So, the same way, two individuals have attended cabinet meetings without, against the constitution. All these things are there, yes. This TVK government, except for trying to eradicate corruption and trying to nab those who have swindled the money, I don't think this government has done anything. But for that, I will not say they got distracted and they are trying to show something. It is the need of the hour that those who have done a lot of corruption scams should be brought into books.
Let's get Richardson the opportunity to answer that question. Richardson, do you think that, in terms of Mr. Senthil Balaji simply not turning up for that for those summons, and Mr. Velu himself not being present and not making himself available, do you think there was a bit of that issue could have perhaps been handled better if the DMK were to cooperate, perhaps not even have the shadow of suspicion lean heavily on them? Could that have been perhaps handled better from a legal standpoint, Richardson, responding to what the BJP spokesperson is saying?
Yeah, firstly, I'm not the counsel for Mr. Senthil Balaji, so I don't want to tell you, I can't speak for him. But what it appears to me, right, at least looking at it as a legal mind, every person has a right to have recourse under law, right? From media reports, what I can see is that the police have requested Mr. Balaji to appear, and every person has the right to request for a certain date as per his convenience to appear, right? So you can't straight away say he's not cooperating. The BNSS recognizes the right of a person to request the investigative officer for whatever reason, for be it health, be it prior engagements. He could say, look, please give me some time. I'll come to you. So it's not as if, at this juncture to say that he's not cooperative or he's using harsh words like absconding, I think is not correct. And in the case of Mr. Velu as well, I think the media reported that he fully cooperated when his premises were raided, right? He was there. And he did cooperate, and it is on record that he went to Singapore for a treatment, and only on that ground he sought some accommodation from the investigative officer, saying that I'll be back, and as soon as I'm back, I'll come and rejoin the investigation. Can you tell me that this is not permissible under the BNSS? I think every citizen of this country has the right. If you're not well or if you have some prior commitments, you can request the IO that, look, please give me a date, I'll appear. Only if he doesn't on the date that he's committed, or if he's evasive and continuously absent from the investigation, only then you can make that allegation that he's not cooperative. And I don't think that stage is reached yet.
Before I go back to Mr. Narayan Tirupati, I want to ask you, Richardson, one more question. Even as all of this is happening, the fact is that a defamation case that's been foisted against Mr. Anita Radhakrishnan there, it's becoming a bit of a slippery slope, don't you think, insofar as cases and the nature of these cases are concerned? You spoke about, Ms. Jayalalitha not too long ago, but the fact is multiple governments have used the defamation route really as a means of settling old political scores, for want of a better term. Do you see some inherent problematic nature in which defamation is often invoked as a means of political persecution? Again, for want of a better word. And is that problematic? Can't there be political consensus to use grounds of prosecution involving matters and charges that are perhaps more tangible than defamation, which you and I both know is often open to interpretation, Richardson? What's your take on that?
Dude, as a lawyer, I'm very concerned that defamation as an offense is being used to settle political scores. leave aside DMK, leave aside BJP, TVK. The law is very clear. If X defames Y, it is not a cognizable offense. And by that I mean the police cannot register a case. The police, if they cannot register a case, cannot arrest somebody for defaming another person. The only recourse that the person has is to go and file a private complaint before the magistrate under section 222 of the BNSS. Right? So let's be very, very clear. The offense of defaming, you and I may, take objection to the language. You and I may not use the same words. Mr. Narayan Tripathi said, oh, can he abuse the CM? Can he abuse the PM? Even on a demurrer, if the words he used are distasteful, it's not a criminal offense. And even if it is defamatory, the remedy is only for that individual who is defamed to approach the magistrate. The police cannot even register a case. And look at the provision under which they've registered. They've registered under the provision which says that he has caused public unrest and incitement to violence. And this is against well-settled law. You cannot misuse the penal provisions and the erstwhile IPC and now the BNS to file defamation cases against your political opponents. And even if what they say is distasteful, you have to either file a civil suit for damages or you go file a private complaint. And if the person who is defamed is holding public office, there is an additional option available to him that the public prosecutor can file a defamation complaint on your behalf. So the law in this regard is very, very clear. And Jude, let me tell you, there are two judgments of the Supreme Court that absolutely deprecate this arrest in these kind of offenses. One is DK Basu and the other is Arnesh Kumar. Right? So in both these judgments, the Supreme Court has made it very clear you cannot arrest a person unless you give him enough opportunities to appear before you. And if he is cooperative, you cannot arrest him. And Anita Radhakrishnan is on record saying that he has appeared before the police and has undertaken to appear as and when called. So why did you arrest him? And I'm very, very happy that the magistrate who's the trial judge in this matter has refused to remand him, which is absolutely following the law of laid down by the Supreme Court in this regard.
Right. No, I'm glad for that clarity, Richard. And I think that really sets a lot of context with regard to the circumstances surrounding which a lot of this prosecution and these arrests have been made. Going back to Ms. Narayan Tirupati, so the fact is that all of this is also happening at a time when you're seeing a huge political influx in the state of Tamil Nadu. At last count, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, 4 former ministers of the AIA DMK, 5 elected MLAs, and many others were told could well make a move from the AIA DMK to the TVK over the next few days. In fact, the DMK claims that all of this is being done as a distraction to keep this aside, but we leave that aside for now. Let's not even go there. But what's happening with your ally, the AIA DMK, Mr. Narayan Tirupati? The fact is, before elections, the BJP and the AIA DMK seem to have mended, that broken relationship back together. What's going on? Is this primarily a crack in those equations, really?
No, see, before that, you said that there is a very big clarity. What clarity is that? How many people in DMK's government were arrested just for posting some Facebook post against the government or the chief minister? But this is vulgar. Talking personally, filthily, this Anita Radhakrishnan has spoken filthily against the chief minister. So that is why the anticipatory bail was denied. So Mr. Richardson says so many courts and referring so many cases. Where were you when 5 years of DMK rule was there? How many hundreds and hundreds of people belonging to BJP and other parties, including the AIDMK, were arrested? What about Saukh Shankar? How many journalists? You have made them into gundas. It was just like this MK Stalin's rule was just like Russia's Stalin's rule for 5 years. And I don't know what moral right or responsibility you have to talk about all these things here. What happened is absolutely, I'm telling you, ridiculous. And now he says that Iba Velu has gone there, Senthil Balaji has got the right. You refused all the rights to other people when you were ruling. And I don't think these DMK people have got anything more to talk. As far as this AIDM case, this thing is, yes, it is completely horse trading. Yes, the TVK is doing
get the
are saying.
DMK side.
That is why I told you. I told you, except
No, Mr.
this
Narayan Tirupati.
DMK
Yeah,
issue,
go on, sir.
except this DMK issue, what the TVK is doing is wrong. That's what I'm saying. This is not good governance. And whatever 6 or 7 people, MLAs, they have brought from ADMK, which is not right. This is undemocratic. Yes, they pay money or they do something, they take something. This is bad. This is absolutely bad. Mr. Vijay seems to be very, very cool, but I think he's in a tense atmosphere. He wants to touch the magic figure of 118. That is why he is doing, because every day is being threatened by CPM, CPI, and also the Vidudalai Sirthigal Katchi. So these people are trying to do this. So this is also bad. That's what I'm saying. They are doing horse trading. In fact, we have given a complaint to the governor that horse trading is happening also. We have met him 2 days back. We have done it. It is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But one
Richardson,
wrong will not make one wrong right.
Absolutely, sir. So absolutely. No, Richardson, coming back to you, I never thought I'd see the day when both the DMK and the BJP are actually on the same side of the argument, when both parties are actually, accusing the TVK government in this case of doing the same thing, which is horse trading. But just very quickly, if you could respond to what Mr. Narayan Tirupati said about the fact is that even under Mr. M.K. Stalin 2021 to 2026, you did see a couple of names, at least a couple of names that come to mind, arrested for actually going about making statements that the DMK did not seem to deem appropriate. Savak Shankar, of course, the whistleblower in one case, Kishore K. Swami as well, political commentator. Both of them were arrested, Richardson. So the fact is that, it's the DMK can't quite absolve itself of being the most liberal party when it comes to matters of free speech either.
See, Jude, I'm not the spokesperson for the DMK, so I can't, speak for them and why they did what they did. But the fact remains that this is the law of the land. And in all the cases that Mr. Narayan Tripathi mentioned, you would see that the High Court or the Supreme Court has intervened, right? And speaking as a lawyer and member of the civil society, I speak for myself when I say that if it is an offense of defamation, there cannot be registration of a criminal case and arrest. And let me tell Mr. Narayan Tripathi that I myself have appeared for several journalists who have been, against whom cases have been filed under the AIADMK governments and have got those cases quashed. So this is the law of the land, and you can't say that, you can't trivialize this by saying that, oh, what did the DMK do? What did you do in this case, that case? The law is you cannot book somebody and arrest somebody for defaming another person, even if that person is the chief minister.
Absolutely. Well, the fact is the law, and even as the law is also in many cases being used to settle political scores in many instances. Tamil Nadu, one might say, being the latest instance. I'm also told we have Rajat Sethi, political analyst, joining us right now on this discussion. Mr. Sethi, thank you so much for joining us on the show today. TVK versus DMK, you're seeing the political scores really between these two parties settled, in police stations, in courts as well. What do you make of it? Is it par for the course really insofar as a transition happening in between these parties? Do you see, either one letting go in the near future? What do you make of the TVK and the DMK really going at it just 2 months into political formation in Tamil Nadu? Okay, I'm told Mr. Sethi is no more on the line with us. On that note, I'll have to wrap up this discussion. Mr. Narayan Tirupati, Mr. Richardson, thank you so much for joining us and breaking down some of those insights. It's a lot of action in Tamil Nadu, more so in the courts and police stations than in the halls of government. But thank you so much for joining us, gentlemen, and breaking down some of those insights. Moving on, the Tamil Nadu government is set to regularize the services of nearly 23,000 Tasmac retail employees in what could be one of the biggest workforce reforms at the state-run liquor retailer. The move is expected to provide long-serving salesmen and supervisors with job security and employment benefits after years of contractual service. The government has also upped the retirement age from 58 to 60. The move is part of the TVK government's strategy to curb overcharging at the Tasmac counter by improving pay, benefits and working conditions of Tasmac employees. Meanwhile, a delegation of NDA leaders, including Union Minister H.D. Kumaraswamy and Union Minister Prahlad Joshi, has approached Karnataka's Chief Electoral Officer alleging large-scale irregularities in the ongoing special intensive revision of electoral rolls. The opposition claims that booth-level officers skipped mandatory door-to-door verification with voter forms, instead being filled at community locations. The delegation has now demanded a probe and action against officials found violating EC guidelines. The Congress, meanwhile, has rejected these allegations, with Chief Minister D.K. Shivkumar calling them politically motivated and maintaining that electoral roll revision is being carried out transparently and in accordance with Election Commission rules. And with that, it's a wrap on the bulletin today. Thanks so much for joining, but South Central will be back tomorrow with more news and updates from South India. For the moment, it's goodbye from us.